Good morning.
Hello.
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 Yes. Wait a few minutes for Omega or West come.
Tan, just so you know, we hear you. We sometimes hear you, sometimes we don't. But just let us know when we can start.
Okay, I will say you when you can talk or when.
Yes, you
Yes.
please. Yes.
Yes, thank you.
You know who else is missing, or who should we also wait for? So please, you give us the start. Just so you know, when we start, you need also to let me share the screen.
Tai, can you please let us know if we can begin?
Okay. I will start first. Chào mọi người. Cảm ơn mọi người đã có mặt đây ngày hôm nay trong buổi hội thảo này. Em là Hòa đến từ Zlink và em là MC của họp này. Hôm nay chúng ta sẽ ở đây để giới thiệu về một giải pháp điều khiển thiết bị từ xa của công ty Impero có thể có tác dụng trong doanh nghiệp trong việc quản lý và kết nối nhân viên từ xa. Trước khi bắt đầu thì em xin giới thiệu đôi nét về công ty ạ. Công ty là công ty phân với phần mềm và thiết bị tin học Zsoft Zlink, được thành lập vào năm 2013 và là đơn vị hoạt động trong lĩnh vực cung cấp giải pháp, thiết bị công nghệ thông tin, viễn thông và cung cấp phần mềm tin học. Và với phương châm giải pháp chuyên nghiệp phục vụ tận tâm, Zlink mong muốn trở thành một tổ chức vững mạnh trong việc sáng tạo và nỗ lực khoa học trong khoa học công nghệ và mang sản phẩm và dịch vụ hoàn thiện nhất tới khách hàng. Đây là thông tin liên lạc của công ty. Tiếp theo là phần giới thiệu về công ty sản xuất phần mềm ngày hôm nay, đó là công ty Impero. Em xin nhiều phần giới thiệu của công ty cho đại diện của họ và xin mời các đại diện đến từ công ty Impero. Now the Impero company we representative we continue the presentation. Please introduce your company before starting. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Tan. Just wanted to make sure if subtitles are activated, or are you activating them, or are they already working, or?
I already start.
You already
subtitle.
activated, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. Then it should be working. Okay, then I will, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. I will share my screen immediately, but then of course, introduce our company. We are called Impero. I hope at this point you already see my screen, and I'm gonna start also the slideshow. We are the company called Impero, but today we will be talking about the solution that is called Impero Connect. Now, some of you that are in this business for some time, and I'm sure there's people here that are in the IT business for 10, 15, 20 years or so, some of you may know us by the old name. We used to be called Netto Primo Control. You see here in the upper part of the screen, until 2 years ago when we joined another company which is called Impero, and then the solution has rebranded to Impero Connect. But if by some reasons you already know Netto Primo Control, or if by any chance you already see Netto Primo Control and use Netto Primo Control, that's been in the market for 20 plus years, almost 30, you will immediately recognize that our rebranding is the same solution with the same security, the same quality, the same name, and the same brand into the market, now working as Impero Connect. Before we dive into the locations and a few words about the company, please feel free to ask any questions. I have my colleagues here that are joining me, as Tan so nicely pointed out in the beginning of the meeting. There's 4 of us here in this conversation. Octavian and Nino and Laura and Shania are helping me with today. And we are all here ready to answer any questions. So please feel free to ask any questions. Please feel free to be inquisitive. Please feel free to just mention anything that your real world, real life prospects are saying and are inquiring about remote access solutions and about remote control, which will be the topic for today. And we will do our best to respond everything you throw at us. Again, be inquisitive, don't be shy. Including bad questions. We love those ones. Now, you see, we are present all over the world. The people here in this conversation, Laura is in the United States, Nino and Shania are in our office in Manila, Philippines, and me and Octavian, we are in our office in Bucharest, Romania. Happy to talk to you from all over the world. Now, let's quickly go into some customers, some references. You will see here there's big names, there's good names, and you will immediately identify there are certain industries that prefer our software. So you can already identify that retailers like our software, with a lot of big names in Europe and the United States mentioned here. You will see that finance, banks like our software a lot, with a lot of names from all over the world. And of course, with probably the biggest one mentioned here, SHBC. I think SHBC is also present in Vietnam. I hope I'm not mistaken. So, but clearly you must be familiar with this brand. They're using our software pretty much everywhere in the world on all the ATMs. We'll get to the ATMs use case at some point. And then manufacturing, a lot of big names in manufacturing. Some of them are also OEM partners with us. They use us with their own customers, companies like the Siemens or the Japanese at Omron. They are using us everywhere, General Electric, Volkswagen Group, and so forth. Product integrators, we'll talk about them a little bit later, some retail, some generic IT, and then healthcare, including manufacturers and hospitals. Some names here are more known than others. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with names like Pfizer or Novo Nordisk or Johnson & Johnson or Novartis, and government. Government also loves our software. There's some big names from the United States mentioned here, but don't make any assumptions. All government organizations in the world just love to use our software for remote access. And These are the company. These are the type of retail, finance, government, manufacturing, utilities, healthcare, education, and transportation type of devices that are being remote controlled with our software. So when you think Impero Connect, think remote access to business critical devices. Don't think just laptops and desktops. Think point of sale. Think self-service checkout machines. Think kiosks. Think anything that is a device in a retail store. Think ATMs, or think ITMs, interactive teller machines, or think self-service cash management robots. When you think of manufacturing, think production lines, assembly lines, packing lines. Think all of these devices that are business critical for the industries. We'll talk a little bit about more of them later, but I want to quickly jump into a short video so you can immediately recognize what remote access and remote control is. So video is starting already. It's with our old logo, as you see, still using the old logo. And we are presenting together with our partner Toshiba in this video, a use case on retail. So our software, remote access software plus Toshiba, in this video, there's a very, very brief introduction with the components that are present in this video, in this demonstration. They are on-premise components. It's the on-premise agents, the technician agent and the device agent, plus some centralized security server, security management component that also comes from us. These are the software that is included in this demonstration. Of course, there's the Toshiba equipment that is being used in this demonstration. There's some store controllers and some store terminals. These are retail type of terminals. They are dedicated industry terminals for retail, point of sale devices, plus some servers that are controlling the entire store infrastructure. And you will see here immediately a session starting. Yes, the technician in the video right here on the technician screen, you can immediately recognize that's a Windows machine, or a Win technician's working on a desktop or a laptop. Is starting the guest software, is selecting a communication profile. This is the method of communication towards the endpoint. Now in this example, is going to select the LAN TCP. It's already selected, inserts the IP address, and then press connect. Now there's a security layer with authentication against the directory services, which is an example of integration with Active Directory. And bam, immediately you see here in the video, it gets access to the end device. Now you can immediately recognize the end device is a Unix. It looks like a Unix or like a Linux, right? It's so obvious. So right now it's so obvious that this technician is working on an other device, other machine, somewhere in, could be on the other side of the world, which just happens to be a Linux machine. It's controlling that machine, is pressing some keys using the menu. This is a Toshiba machine. I don't know the menu. I'm not a Toshiba expert. So it's whatever menu that store controller, I think that was a store, store controller has. And this technician is just doing normal day-to-day operations on the store controller. I would like to let the video work a little bit longer for a couple of 2 minutes, so 2 minutes more, because I want to show you how the technician is addressing the store devices. The technician has a directory structure here on the left with store 1, store 2, etc. Goes on that, browse that, and then you see already started another session with a store terminal. So I'm pretty sure you're familiar with how a point of sale terminal would look like in the interface on a point of sale, including a touchpad. This could be a type of a physical keyboard, like a metal keyboard or a touch screen, that with the numpad. But here is clearly a touch screen, and the operator is doing whatever remote access tasks need to do on that point of sale device. So you immediately are able to understand that our software is about getting remote access, getting keyboard, video, and mouse, access into different devices, which can be anywhere around the world, which can be on the other side of the world, or which can be just 2 meters away. It's not relevant where the device is. The idea is to have direct connectivity and direct let me stop the video and then move back to the presentation, because I want to talk to you for 4 or 5 more slides about the typical use cases and the typical industries where we sell our software. And throughout the discussion, I will briefly mention various points, various, let's say, differentiators, various type of information that our customers use to decide for our software. At the end of the day, you're probably interested why our customers are using our software and not something else. So let's talk about the stores. In a store environment, you have various types of devices that you want to control. Of course, the most critical one is the point of sale. And then there are some information or some multimedia panels, some sort of TVs, which can be smart TVs, or some sort of scanners or some sort of equipment that is completely store related equipment. Then there are some potentially some ATMs, or they may not necessarily be ATMs. They could be pay points or self-pay points, or those kind of kiosks where you pay your bills or you pay your monthly electricity or etc. Then there could be some gas stations. A lot of stores these days tend to also have an area in their vicinity where you can fuel your car, literally put gasoline into your car. Some stores do that and some stores don't, but anyway, that's a possibility. And there are, of course, some desktops, some laptops in the back office infrastructure. There are some mobile devices, which could be scanners, which could be other type of devices where you check your pricing or you check your availability of the product and everything. And there could be some vending machines or some other type of interaction machines that could provide you juices or whatever kind of snacks and etc. All of these are store infrastructure. All of them can and will, and we recommend to be remote controlled with our software. But the beauty of the software and the general use case is that you want to have granular access on all of these devices, meaning that you want to have the store personnel have access to the point of sale. That's just an example. Then you want, potentially you have a contract with a help desk IT company, but these people should not have access to anything else but the back office infrastructure. So you may have this kind of granular type of contracts on your infrastructure with different providers. And then typically what we see is on the oil gas stations, you may in fact have specialized personnel that have the certification to provide service and intervention on your gas station equipment. And these are different people. So overall, you want to have this kind of granular access. And of course, you want to block access from one type of individual to a different type of devices, because that's not what your contract is. That's not what the certification of this individual is. So this is the type of granular access use cases we see in stores. There's 3 partners globally available for us, and that's one of the main selling points of our solution in the store environment when it comes to certification from providers of store technology. If this customer will potentially have a Toshiba device or a Diebold Nixdorf or an NCR device, then please be aware, please be informed that we are certified and we are working as a certified remote access solution for all these 3 global manufacturers of store technology. Now, of course, there are more, but these 3 are in our portfolio. In a similar manner, if we talk about specialty retail, like in this example, gas petrol stations. Now, you know how a gas petrol station look like, and of course, you know the purpose is to just fuel your car. But in this situation, you will see that the use case is pretty much the same, because at the end of the day, you also have some point of sale device. You also have some panels or some multimedia devices that are showing prices or that are showing something. And of course, you may also have some ATM, some cash, or some machines or some self-service type of payment machines. Of course, you have the oil station, like you have the pump itself. That's the main purpose of the gas station. And of course, you want to do pretty much the same thing you did before with the same type of granular and discriminative, let's say, access rights on the various contractors that you have on the store equipment. But in the gas station and petrol stations industry, there's different partners because there's different technology providers. These three are known from us as the global leaders, especially the first two. Gilbarco Viderut is the global leader of both fuel station equipment like gas pumps and fuel pump and tank gauges and all that kind of fuel related technology, and overfueling solutions the same. And these guys work also on the retail side, but also on the fueling and gas pump, or let's call it fuel dispenser, if you want to call it fuel dispenser technology. So these kind of customers, they can remote control into let's say in a way to their store solution. Good. If you don't mind, I have to switch to this video because it started working here, so I need to just stop it. Yeah, I think it is. There you go. Sorry for that. I had to stop the video because it was going into my headphones. Okay, so going back to retail. In retail, that's the typical use case. That's the typical type of activities that a help desk technician will perform on the devices. It's point of sales, it's self-checkout lanes, it's view operational screens, it's troubleshooting, it's run training and live support, it's out-of-band system support. You will see a little bit later in the video. Very, very cool, a very interesting feature, which is, by the way, one of the features that our customers prefer with our software and one of the features that you don't see in other software. Of course, anticipating some questions related to why buy Impero and not something else in the first place. Well, one of the reasons is because this Intel vPro integration at the BIOS level. So you can control BIOS interaction with our software. But then, of course, there will be a plethora of other ways to mention throughout the discussion today. Now, moving into the banks. Banks just love to use our software on all the ATMs infrastructure. The more ATMs, the merrier. So you see here some screenshot of some ATM rooms. Now, of course, the whole idea is that for banks, they prefer to use Impero Connect to remote into their ATM devices or self-service payment terminals, self-service kiosks where you get to pay your bills or get to pay your credit, get to pay your house rent or whatever. And pretty much the activities that they can do on these devices are the same. Banks also love Intel vPro support because also they use it for out-of-service system support, but they also love a lot of extensive logging and a lot of extensive screenshots and documentation and training on the sessions themselves. Similar to retail, we have a lot of global partners. This is another reason why banks prefer to choose our software, because we are certified by ATM manufacturers. This is really important. I think just last week, there was a big hack in Mexico related to ATMs. And one of the reasons the big hack happened is because those bank that experienced the hack did not use certified software on the ATMs. So banks always, or at least we hope that always, implement and use certified remote access like Impero Connect on their ATM infrastructure, which can be NCR, global leader, which can be Diebold Nixdorf, another global leader, which can be Hyosung, which is a very good leader in good company in ATMs. It's a Korean company. I don't know if you have them in Vietnam, but we see them pretty much in across Asia Pacific. They're also available in the United States. So if by any chance you hear about Hyosung, it's a big company providing ATM technology that is a partner with us. And similarly, Oki, which is a Japanese company, of course, Also, Japanese company of Oki is a big partner, big technology manufacturer that is certifying our remote access on the ATMs. Keep in mind, no bank will install anything on the ATM that is not certified by the ATM manufacturer. That's the rule. If they don't follow the rule, then there's massive problems. They get all those kind of hacks where people start literally pouring money in the streets. So, and if you're a bank, you don't want to get your ATMs hacked because you just use some unauthorized remote access software for your ATM infrastructure. Now, moving on to manufacturing. There's a plethora of use cases in manufacturing. When you think of manufacturing, think of factory devices, think of assembly lines, think of robots, think of multi-purpose robots, think of packing machines, think of loading machines, think of anything you can think inside a manufacturing environment. The technology inside the factory, companies prefer to use our software for that kind of use case. And that's, of course, mainly for the security reason. This is business critical infrastructure. You don't want to be hacked, or you don't want to have unauthorized access on your robots and the attacker all of a sudden stopping your factory because your remote access solution is not good. And in general, the manufacturing customers prefer and have this kind of typical use case where vendors or technology providers or experts from all over the world that are certified in certain areas, like let's say sabling, painting operations, maintenance operations, welding operations. These are certified technicians. These individuals need to get remote access into the factory environment literally from all over the world. And we have big technology partners that are certified and operating with our software. Let's mention Siemens and Omron here, because Siemens is technically working with our software all over the world. It's the German company Siemens AG. All the factory automation that Siemens provides is using our software. There's other companies that I will not even mention here, like Stiva Automation and Hamag AG and so forth. Just so you know, in the factory environment, these people prefer our software and like our software for the security of remote access. Now, moving into healthcare, medical, laboratory equipment, it's a very business critical and very information sensitive type of environment. In general, these people, they have a lot of regulatory compliance, they have a lot of patient data, they have a lot of, let's say even IP data, intellectual property data that they want to protect. And these guys also prefer to use our software for the same security reasons of remote access. And you can imagine, you don't want unauthorized access to happen to all of a sudden start to happening on your blood analyzers or on your CT scanners or on your magnetic resonance machines that are running in the hospital or on your production facility. Typically, the same here. Radiometer is a big manufacturer of laboratory equipment. They work with us everywhere. We are certified to work on their software. In a similar manner, Omron, the Japanese manufacturer of healthcare devices, certifies us. And General Electric plus Siemens, it's Siemens Healthcare Division, which is called Siemens Healthineers. And GE, General Electric Healthcare Division, for CT scanners, magnetic resonance scanners. They all certify our software as the certified remote access solution for their devices. Now, I think it's the last slide with industry type of use case, but a very interesting slide related to heavy duty utilities and public services. These industries, you can imagine, they again have the same level of business critical need when it comes to remote control. So when you think of these people, they are remote controlling turbines, they are remote controlling windmills, they are remote controlling nuclear reactors with our software. So think about how critical that is. That's super critical. You don't want just like anybody going in remotely controlling your nuclear facility, because that has huge potential to go bad. So you have a lot of certified and specialized technicians. This is specific to 24/7 operation that happens into these control rooms. They're capturing sounds, they're capturing alarms from those rooms, they are capturing all sorts of alerts from those rooms remotely. So technically, you can remote control a nuclear facility with our software in a very, very secure and business sensitive way. A few certifying partners, Andritz, probably you don't know the name. They are the biggest manufacturer of turbines for hydropower plants. If it's small, medium, or large hydropower plants, they all remote control the turbines with our software. Siemens, you've seen it before, and ABB is a specialized technology provider for electricity production. So they have all sorts of power exchange devices from high voltage to medium voltage and to low voltage. These transport lines that you see here in this small, let's say, screenshot on the left, they're all being remote controlled with our software. So when you think of power grids, when you think of transport, like electricity transport networks in your country, think that that's a very good, very nice potential customer for our software. Now, one thing related to multi-platform support, that's one of the reasons why people choose our software. And I actually wanted to mention here, because we are typically the most compatible remote access software with the most wide array of operating systems, even old operating systems. That's another thing that you should be very careful and very aware when you talk to your prospects and customers, that if you find some exotic operating system, some Linux that no one has heard of, or some Windows 95. I mean, come on, you can say, seriously, who uses Windows 95? Well, if you do find Windows old versions, just be aware and know that we support those versions, and we can still provide a valid and valuable remote access session for those individuals. And last slide before we go to a live demonstration is related to the architectures. That's super powerful statement. This is another big reason why people choose our software, is because we can implement through full on-premise, we can implement through full cloud, and we can implement hybrid, a combination of on-premise plus cloud. There's no other solution in the world that can do that. And you can imagine a large enterprise customer, let's say a bank, or let's say a big retailer, or let's say a government, let's say fiscal tax administration, or the Central Bank of Vietnam. I'm pretty sure you know who they are and what's their name. These people will like and will prefer to use our software because they can use it on-premise, full on-premise, closed network in certain areas, like in the business critical areas. They will be able to use it cloud when it comes to cloud installation, and which means they will be able, in fact, to use it with hybrid. It's a very powerful combination. It's one of the reasons why people choose our software, of course, among many others. This is another one, another reason to choose our software. This full flexibility. Typically, this full flexibility is preferred and is liked by large, really large organizations. Like I said, large companies, large manufacturers, large governments, large ministries, large fiscal tax administration, Ministry of Defense, army organizations. All those people prefer that kind of flexibility in terms of architecture. Good. Now, let's go to a demo. And this is supposed to be full screen here. Let me see what's going on. Not this one. This one. So, by the way, Nino, feel free to interrupt me if there are any questions at any point.
Sure.
I'm expecting with the demo that people will be much more active and much more inquisitive. Again, please allow me to repeat myself. Please be inquisitive. Please ask bad questions. Please be the devil's advocate. You are talking to your customers. You are talking to your prospects. You know the kind of tough, inquisitive questions they ask. Please be that customer that has tough, strong, inquisitive questions to us, and please just fire them away anytime. You can send them via a chat. Please, by the way, send them also in Vietnamese if you want, because we can use Google Translate, and we can, of course, we will respond to you in English, but just feel free to write your questions in any language you like. So we'll be fine. We'll take them. Now, this is the interface of our cloud infrastructure. You see here a demo account with just 4 devices that are available right now. And that's an area of access here in the cloud infrastructure, and that's the area of manage. So let's quickly see a remote access session. That's why you're here, right? So we have a Surface tab that's sitting right next to me here. And let's go and remote control it. First, let's make sure that everything is, active. And let's say remote control. And let's remote control it through the browser, because it's a very cool idea. And again, one of the reasons why people buy our software, of course, there's many reasons why people buy our software, but that's one of them, is because you can do remote access sessions directly in the browser. As far as we know, there's literally nobody that can provide that, or maybe there are some providers, but not many. And this is a very powerful way to limit access to certain users. Why do I say that? It's because it's the browser interface, as you see it here. Now I'm already controlling this Surface tab, which has a Windows 10 and which is flashing here that I need to update it or upgrade the Windows machine, which of course I will not do that right now. But yeah, I'm already controlling a different device here in the browser. I can start, what do you want me to start? Let's do Firefox. And here we are operating on that machine and starting Firefox. Of course, this Firefox thing is telling me some stuff in my native language. Of course, it wants to be the default browser. I'll say, of course not. And you can already have access to the machine. Now, while we are closing the Firefox, because I don't think you want to see how Firefox looks like, I'm going to say that there are certain features here available in the browser, like selecting the monitors and providing some key actions like Control-Alt-Shift, Control-Delete, or start, restart, lock, and shut down. We'll do a restart later. And then this is one of the ways when you can restrict access to your dummy users, or let's say to certain less authorized users towards the browser. Why is it important? Well, it's important because in the browser, the technician has a predefined set of capabilities that is limited by the browser interface. You will see a little bit later, the other interface, the FAT client interface, is much more feature rich, but the browser is kind of thin. It's the thin client. So you can restrict access to certain technicians towards the thin client and say, look, you're not authorized to do anything else but what the thin client allows you. And this is the thin client, this is the browser. Now, let's go, let me stop the session. And then let's go back and let's do the same session on the same surface, but with the FAT client. So the FAT client is called the guest. It will, of course, ask me if I allow to start the guest. And that's the FAT client. You see, already has a different look and feel, looks like a Windows application. And then the Windows application is, of course, starting. And it's a session towards the same device. Let me stop the microphone because I have some microphone here. Oh, no. Now, of course, it wants me to, let's say, off with the microphone. And now you see that the session has a very, very different menu here on top. But of course, the device is the same. So it's still the same Firefox. So if we start Firefox, probably it will ask us the same thing if we allow it to become the default browser. No, it got the point. No, it didn't. Of course, every time it will ask me the same thing and it will say, no, not now. it's clear indication for you that it's exactly the same device because it's asking me exactly the same question. But looking at Firefox is not really the point here. We want to look at the menu. And in the menu, you will immediately see, let me minimize this a little bit. In the menu, you will immediately see that there's many more features that are active here. Like you can start a file transfer session. We can start a chat session. We can start an audio video chat session. We can start a remote management session. That's a very, very powerful tool. I'll show it to you a little bit later. And you can run a program like an exe file. You can execute a command. You can send a message to the individual if there's an individual sitting at the device. Of course, makes little sense to send a message if you're remote controlling an ATM. Most likely nobody will see it. Or if you're remote controlling a robot in a manufacturing line. But if you're remote controlling a device where there's an individual behind it, then of course you can send the message. And you can get the inventory from that machine. Let's do that, for example. Let's see, get inventory. So you see, it's getting the inventory right now from this machine, and yeah, it's a status, so it's getting it. While it's getting it, we'll move ahead, and you see here there's the where were we? We were on the get inventory. There's the demonstrate feature. Yeah, in the meantime, we got the inventory, of course. Here's the inventory on that surface. If you want to see how a surface looks like with all the parameters, all the hardware, all the processor, the number of cores, the frequency, and etc., that's a very powerful way to do it. By the way, you can do this on a regular basis, and you can do this as part of your asset management type of feature if you want to do this. Good. Let's close the session. And then let's do remote management. Because remote management on the same machine is going to give you access okay, so I think the chat was on top of it. So we're starting a remote management machine. Now in the remote management, a remote management session. Now in the remote management session, you'll immediately see here, we don't control the screen. We are behind the scenes. Some customers call this stealth mode. Well, not sure if it's the best way to call it, but it's really stealth. It's not interfering with the normal operations of the device. It's going behind the screens, behind the scenes to the underlying components of the Windows machine. This is, of course, a Windows machine. So you will get to the event viewer, which is a Windows feature. In the Windows machine, the same Surface machine, you can go to the disk drive. You can easily go to the task manager, see whatever application is on, and see whatever processes are started. And of course, you can start and stop a process, which I don't want to do it right now, but that's the whole purpose of the idea of task manager. You can go into the registries, you can check the registries on the machine. All these operations can be done without interfering with the user. So this is a nice and good way. And going back to the question, why people buy our software, that's another reason why people buy our software, because you can interfere, you can control that device at the underlying components without interfering with the user. So right now, the user, if there's a user on the surface, then the user does not notice anything. The user continues operating, you're not interrupting it or them, you're not interrupting their operations. Everything is done as normal while you're doing your work on the registries, on the services, on the inventory, like you saw before. You can start a command console prompt and start writing command console actions or programs or commands on the machine. And you can do system control and etc. That's another feature that I wanted to show you, the remote management, another powerful feature why people choose our software. Now, going back to the session, let's start a session again, but let's do it from here. So now I'm going to show you how you start a session, not from the portal, but from the FAT client. And the FAT client is this one. So we just double click on the surface and bam, here you have the same session as before. So keep in mind that a technician is not forced to operate in the cloud infrastructure. The technician can easily just operate in the FAT client and start sessions from here, from the guest, which we call, you see here, guest, which is the name for the desktop application. Now, going back to the session, because there's more features that we wanted to introduce to you. We were left with the remote management. We said get inventory, demonstrate. Then there is, of course, a disconnect button, and there is a connection properties, a full screen mode. You can control multiple monitors if you have multiple monitors on the machine. Now, of course, on this machine, I just have one monitor, but if you have machines that are having 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 monitors, by the way, that's another powerful feature that we have with our banking customers. They remote control into different monitors on the ATM. And that's because the ATM always has 3, 4, 5 monitors. One of them is the maintenance monitor, which a customer never sees. So it's like, let's say, a back office type of monitor. And they use this feature to monitor the service and maintenance monitor when they remote control into the ATM and not disturb the customer. If somebody is withdrawing money on the ATM in the middle of a session, that person is not disturbed, is not impacted, because the service technician is controlling a different monitor, a service monitor. Now, let's move ahead. There is of course, restart, Control Alt Delete, and other stuff. Now, I wanted to show you a where is it? A blank screen. There it is, blank display. So the blank display, it's another powerful feature why customers choose our software. Because if you use it, you will blank the display of the end device, which means that if it's a device that is customer focusing, the customers that are operating on that device will no longer be able to operate on it. This is another type of feature that you want to use when you are a maintenance technician and you are working on some, let's say, multimedia screens or screens that are customer facing. Imagine that you are controlling a fuel dispenser in a gas station. You want to blank the screen of the fuel dispenser while you're doing your work on it, because you don't want to have various individuals, customers, just fueling their cars while you are doing your work on the screen. So one way to do it is to just blank that screen and allow you to perform all the operations. The customer has the impression that the screen is out of service, which is not, but still they cannot operate on it. So that's how our service technicians are empowered by our software on this customer facing multimedia type of devices, where you want to cut them off from customer operations while you are doing your own service type of activity and service intervention. Again, you don't want somebody to fuel their cars on the fuel dispenser while you're doing some remote work on that dispenser, because that's going to mess up with everything. So you want to take it out of service, but without really taking it out of service. You're operating on it, and the customer just thinks it's out of service because it has blanked the screen. In the same way, you can stop keyboard and mouse actions. If the device has any touchpad or any keypad, like that kind of metal hardware type of keypads with typically it's a stainless steel type of keypads. You can stop and block those keypads using our software. Good. Now let's stop the session. And I think I showed you a plethora of sessions. So we can quickly move into the other type of features. And I will focus on the type of features that make our software unique. Now, there's a lot of features. Just like with remote access software, you can do grouping, device management, and etc. So you can define users, of course, you can define groups, you can define groups of devices, you can define groups of users. They are going to be mentioned here in the groups area. You see, these are device groups, these are user groups, and then you can define roles. Roles are extremely powerful methods to limit and to restrict access for certain users to certain devices. Why would you want to do this? It's for regulations and security purposes. So it's security may ask you to have granular access rights, but also regulation. Now think of a factory. The regulation, the certification in a factory says that a welding technician should not have access to anything else but to the welding robots. How do you do that? You limit and you restrict the granular access in here in the roles. And of course, first thing first, you create the groups. You say, let's do it right now. Let's say add a device group and let's call welding robots. And these are the devices. We can already say, hey, this is a welding robot. This is a welding robot. Of course, I'm not going to say it right now. We'll keep the group empty. And there you go. You have a device group that is called welding robots. And then you create a user group and you say welding certified experts. And of course, I can already say Nino is a welding certified expert, which he's not, but let's say that he is. So let's put Nino here in the welding certified experts and say right now we have the groups of welding certified experts and the group of welding devices. Now we need to create some roles and we need to give some access rights based on the roles. Now let's see one role that is called engineer. Now you see on each individual role, you can define what action can be performed. And now having in mind the access of welding experts on the welding robots, you can say they can view remote screen, they can use keyboard, they can lock the keyboard, they can blank the screen, or no, they cannot blank the screen. No transfer clipboard, no execute command, no run programs, no remote manage. Join multi-guest session. That's a yes. Why? Because typically in a manufacturing environment, you want multiple technicians to work on the same robot in the same time. So yeah, there is a situation where it's not just Nino that needs to operate the welding robot. It's typically it can be 2 or 3 or 4 experts that need to operate the welding robot in the same time, like collaboratively work on the same robot in the same time. So you want to allow multi-guest session and so forth. Now, remember, we said you can limit the client type. So you can say, hey, dear welding experts, you are not allowed to use anything else but the browser. Now, in this case, it's actually all of them are allowed, but this is another thing that you can limit. And then you go to the role assignment. And then you say, let's do a role assignment. And let's say welding certified access on welding equipment. And you say that the role is going to be engineer and the user group is the welding certified experts. They have access on the welding robots, and you say restricted certified access only for welding machines. And that's your role, and that's your role assignment. Of course, right now we don't have any welding robots, and we only have one single welding expert. But the whole point is you create these roles, And that's how you create your granular access. One of the main reasons why people choose our software is for certification, compliance, and audit reasons. There's a plethora of, like in healthcare, there's HIPAA. In manufacturing, there's a lot of certification. Each provider has their own certifications. If you are a Siemens, if you have Siemens machines, you should not allow anybody to operate on the Siemens machine that is not Siemens certified. So you want to restrict that kind of access. Good. Not to mention governments. In governments, it's sometimes going into a government building is more complex than going into the airport. So there's a lot of certifications, a lot of security screening, and a lot of rules related to roles and role assignments. And in general, governments will do this kind of certified access on external contractors. By the way, let's do another role. And let's say groups. And let's say add user group. And let's say external contractors. Now, let's leave it empty for the time being. And let's say if you have external contractors that want to access your premises, you go into the role assignments and you see add a role assignment and you say external contractors limited view only access. Just let's make it like this and you say what's the role? Well, the role is view only. So you choose the view only role and you say that's applicable to external contractors and that's applicable to everything. So you say, look, the external contractors can see devices, can watch what's going on, but they're not allowed to operate on them. So this is a view only type of access and you say restricted view only access for external contractors on critical machines. And that's your role that you just created right here. This is the power of segregation. This is the power of restriction. This is the power that allows all our customers to be compliant, to be auditable by security experts, to be to have a right way to limit access according to certification. Good. Now, let's move on to something else. And let's talk about, because we are in the same space here related to security, let's look a little bit of the local agent. This is the agent that is installed on my machine, which is called host. And let's look at logs. This is another reason why people buy our software, because there is extensive logging. There is more than 200 events. You can log all remote access operations in here, and you can choose to log locally. You can choose to log in the Windows event log or via SNMP traps. So, and if you choose any of these, you go on the respective tab and you say, what do you want to log? Now I said approximately 200 events. They're all listed here. You can, of course, select individually what kind of event logs you want to log. Or you can just go on each category and say, select all that is connection, select all that is security, select all that is configuration. So this way you get to log everything, every interaction. This is another powerful feature. And this is something that is not present in a lot of other solutions out there. You can log all interactions. You can do it for audit and security purposes. And this is another way to differentiate our offering into the market. Again, the more security sensitive the customer is, the more they will like our software because of all these type of security mechanisms built in. There's another feature that I could show you as is related to recording, but let me just tell you about it. We're not going to start recording sessions here, but I'm gonna just tell you how this works. You can record sessions. This is another powerful feature related to security and to auditing. This is typically applicable to external vendors, external contractors, or security sensitive areas where you imagine you are a bank and you allow an external contractor to operate remotely on your ATM machines. You may be tempted to want to record everything the contractor is doing inside the remote access session and literally obtain an audio video file that is a recording of the session at the end of the session. That's another powerful way to provide compliance and to provide auditability for the remote access sessions. Good. Now, there's a whole lot of things here which we didn't mention. If there are any questions at this point, because I would like to know if you have anything you wanna inquire, or if there's anything you wanna you heard from your customers, anything that they are worried about and you want to ask us before we move ahead. Okay, so we'll take questions as they arrive. Now let's move over to let's show again. Where's the guest? It's right here. Two more powerful features to be mentioned. The phone book is a very nice and structured way, easy way to structure your devices and easily find them when you need them. You
Paul,
can, yeah.
Paul, let me interrupt you. Well, we have a
Yep.
question on the chat box from Nguyen saying, does your software don't support Ubuntu 20.04 or beyond, or Debian 11?
Yeah, that's a very precise question. So yes, we do support Ubuntu. Yes, we do support Debian. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Debian 11 is probably the last version of Debian. And we're just testing Debian 11, but we support it. Now, a full list of supported devices is on our website. I'm sorry, I don't really know all of them by heart, and I don't have all of them in my memory. I can assure you that Debian and Ubuntu are there. They're both supported, and there's many versions supported. And by the way, if you doubt anything, we'll just test the software. It's probably a good time to mention that all our software is available free for testing, including Ubuntu and Debian. So if you want to test some of our software on certain Ubuntus or certain Debian systems, just do it. It's free of charge. We can provide it to you for 15 days free of charge. It's free trial, the typical free trial way to do things. And please talk to our friends at Azsoft and ask them for a trial guidance. It's fairly easy. It's a self-service type of trial on our website. However, if you want to test Linux, on the Linux side, it's a little bit more complicated. Check here. There you go. So you need to go here and do the Ubuntu and download the latest builds. Now I see here that Debian 11 is not mentioned, but it's the same Debian 10 that's installation that you can test on 11, because we won't have different installations. It's the same one. And Ubuntu latest version 20, I think you mentioned, is going to be the same. You can just go on. But by the way, don't take this list as a extensive list. The real extensive list is on our website in the knowledge base. That's just a representation with some very, very simple statements here. Go on our knowledge base and check exactly what versions we support, because that's really an extensive list. And it covers also Macs, and it covers Windows and everything. By the way, for Windows, you just want to install it here. If you go on our knowledge base, There's a whole list of Windows systems that we support, and there is a detailed list of which installer, which version you need to install for certain Windows, specifically the older versions of Windows. Yeah, that's how we encourage you to do it. Any other questions, Nino?
None so far.
Okay, sounds good. Good then. Where were we? We were saying, yeah, we were saying that the phone book. The phone book is a usability feature. It's liked by the service engineers, the service technicians. It's a very quick and fast way to operate in this FAT client. You see, I'm right now in the FAT client. Let's maximize it. So this is the FAT client. You don't really need to operate in the portal, in the cloud portal. You can just operate here in the FAT client and find your devices here based on the country structure or whatever kind of structure you want to do. Now, another thing I wanted to show, that's of course an area where you find recordings, but another thing I wanted to show you, and that's another thing that is a differentiator to our software. A lot of our customers like the idea of running scripts. As far as we know, there's no other software out there. Maybe we're wrong, but there's no other software out there that can do scripts. What is a script? A script is a repetitive set of actions on a large scale infrastructure. So consider an action that you want to perform monthly or weekly or daily or hourly, a repetitive type of action on all your devices, but not necessarily all of them, but on large quantity of devices, on 1,000 devices, on 2,000 devices, on 10,000 devices. Let's say you want to copy a file. That's a typical use case from banking again. They have end of day logs on the ATMs. The ATMs produce logs on the local drive every time at the end of the day. And the regulation requires the bank to transfer these logs in a central location. That's a copy file. Now, copy file, we have the feature, it's file transfer. We talked about it. So we said, if you go on a device and you start a file transfer session, you say file transfer, you get to the same surface, which is right next to me, and you get a file transfer feature. So you start moving from left to right, and that's a typical copy. Now, of course, this file exists already, so let's overwrite it. You know how file transfer works. I don't have to show it to you. You can do this manually every time. You can do it from right to left and so forth. So file transfer is built in, but what if you have to do this 1,000 times on 1,000 devices every day? Because that's how the banking regulation says. Well, the right way to do it is to go back to go to the script. Where's the script screen? There it is. So you write a script where you call in the global infrastructure with your devices, your ATMs, or whatever they are, and then you perform copy operations. And you can do these repetitive actions on a large scale infrastructure on a regular time, like hourly, daily, etc. And it's not just copy file. Think of running an Excel file. So like running a command. You see, like in this example, is running a command on the local machine. So starting something, stopping something, changing a parameter, any kind of activity that you can think of that is repetitive, you can do it with our software via script. This is for, let me give you another example. This is used in fuel gas stations massively all over the world. The gas stations, fueling stations technicians, they need to retrieve some loading files from the tank gauges and from the fuel dispensers technically every day. there are some measurements, and those measurements are being stored on the local machine, and they don't have a valid way to do it automatically other than our scripts. Of course, they can do it manually, but it's crazy to do it on 1,000 fueling stations, fuel dispensers in your portfolio. You want to do it with a script in a very automated and very easy way. And then when you run the script, you can go to sleep because the script is going to work its way for you. And you can implement as many scripts as you want.
All right. Well, we have another question from Natmin Paul, and they're asking if I can remote access other desktop without their notice, then I can install malicious software or code in the remoted PC and don't get notice.
Well, that's if this install remote code and malicious software, that's a matter of rights. That's not a matter of being noticed or not. So it's a matter of how you implement rights and how you implement your technician rights. So let me answer this in two ways. First thing first, there is let's go back to the portal. There is a confirmed access feature. Let's look at this role. This role has a confirmed access feature enabled. You see here, it says confirm access. And by the way, this it has confirmed access enabled via email. That's a very interesting role. It has available enabled the confirm access via email, but equally there is another confirm access via pop-up. Now, you can have situations where customers want you to enable this confirm access so that they are aware when a technician wants to control the device at all times, the user is aware that the technician wants to control their device and they need to say yes. So what will the user get? The user, if it's in this situation here, it actually says no. So let's edit it. And let's say confirm access here. So it's yes. Okay, so now it's yes. Okay, so if it's yes here, then the user will get a pop-up, like a pop-up on the right side of the screen saying, hey, Mr. Tan Tran wants to connect to your computer. Do you trust this individual and do you allow him to control you? And that's up to the user to say yes or no. If this is enabled, then an email will be received because it says confirm access via email. And then an email will be received and the certain user will say, which is defined as administrator, will say, yes, we allow Mr. Tan Tran to control this device. That's one thing. The second thing you can do in the roles is to just disable that feature. If it's not acceptable, and we have banks, we have like government that don't find that feature acceptable, you can just disable it because this remote management is right here. So this is a feature that is you can define it to be yes or no per each individual role, and you can just define all roles to have it or no, and then it's gone. Then the third thing I want to say to you is about injecting malicious code or about injecting malicious files, because at the end of the day, that's how you do it, via files. This is of course, entirely up to you as a technician responsible of what kind of files you are transferring. But there is two ways to block this. It's file transfer goes two ways. And send file to host is one operation and receive files from host is another operation. So you can define, hey, I can get files from that computer, but I cannot send files to that computer. And that's another way that's another powerful way to restrict file transfer. And by the way, this can be requested by compliance reasons. So there are certain countries, I don't know how it is in Vietnam, but there are certain countries where retailers, they're not allowed to transfer files on the point of sale device from a distance. They can only take files from the point of sales, but they cannot inject files into the point of sales. And that's not just for security reasons, that's for compliance reasons, because they're assuming if you're injecting files, you may actually fake your sales. So the interest of the government is to make sure that your sales are accurate and that you report your VAT accurate and that you report your whole VAT and that you pay your VAT as a retailer to the government. So their interest is not about security. Their interest is about protecting the VAT and the taxes that they collect from retailers. But nevertheless, whatever the reason is, the result is the same. They will restrict file transfers for regulation purposes. And that way you can cover that by saying, hey, you're not allowed to sell file to host. Let's do it here, right here. And say, let's, yeah, what section that was? Anyway, let's look for it here. There you go. Send file to host. And you say not allowed, but you are allowed to receive files from host. You see, remember, you wanted to get the end of day logs from the ATMs. That's not a send file. That's a receive file. You just copy the file. So you don't send anything. So then you disable this one, and then sending files is bye-bye. Okay. And there's another way. There's something else you can do. You can do like the idea is called it's something in the poster check type of use case where you can in fact put in some antivirus software and attach an antivirus software to do a little bit of antivirus on whatever files you are transferring back and forth. But that's a little bit different, something a little bit else. Okay. Good then, Nino, as before, please feel free to interrupt me at any time. I think we were talking about the scripts. Now we need to be wary of time. There's still some time left. Now let's go into the scripts. And yeah, we were saying that the scripts are a very, very powerful way to do repetitive actions, repetitive operations, and they are extremely powerful way to do this kind of mass type of operations on all the devices. Good. Now, I think that's about it with the demonstration. I will quickly leave the demonstration and go back to the PowerPoint because we still have a couple of slides left. Again, just like until now, feel free to ask anything you want to ask because we'll, of course, happily respond to you. Now, going into the architecture, there's a couple of components that are needed if you want to install our solution on premise. These two are the most important ones. That's the technician agent and that's the device agent. The other three are optional. Now, a typical remote access session is a peer-to-peer. In on-premise is a peer-to-peer. So technician controls device. The protocol used is an Impero protocol. So the connection here is not an open source connection, is not an open connection, is a closed connection using Impero protocol. Why is this important? Well, it's extremely important. There's a lot of solutions out there that use open source or open protocols, which are usually not considered safe by security experts. Let's take RDP. You probably have heard of RDP. Now, RDP is usually, and I can show you some document, which is kind of funny, but I have to show you because this is a public document. So I can show you this document that has been issued publicly by the FBI. So I don't have a problem to show it to you because it's publicly available. You can see it. It's across available to the whole world. where these ladies and gentlemen in the United States, they are warning the world that the most important 3 vulnerabilities for companies when it comes to attacks are these 3. This one, email phishing, has nothing to do with our software. But guess what is the number 2 vulnerability? So in general, security experts, they just hate RDP. Now, in very simple terms, one of our customers in the United States, they said the biggest enemy of Microsoft is the United States government. Now, that's of course that's a nice statement to say, but keep in mind the United States government mentioned here black or white on white that RDP is one of the big vulnerabilities that you can have in a network. And in general, what we see with our customers, they stop using RDP, they forbid RDP. Where we implement our software, we see that RDP is not accepted. So simply RDP is banned. It's like if you have RDP, you're fired, you're gone, you're bye-bye, kaput. So that's another way to mention how why RDP is important not to be used. Again, this is a public document issued by the United States government. It's not issued by us. So feel free to communicate this to all your customers. Feel free to communicate this to anybody that is asking this. Now, going back to the demonstration, this session is not RDP. This session is not SSH. This session is not VNC. This session is not Telnet. This session is not, sorry for that. This session is not an open protocol. It's a closed protocol. It's an Impero proprietary protocol. That's why it's considered safe, and that's why it's considered the most secure remote access software in the world. That's one of the reasons, because the session itself is fully encrypted with Impero encryption and with Impero protocol. So when you use Impero, you can stop anything open in your network. You can stop RDP, you can stop SSH, you can stop VNC, you can stop Telnet, you can stop anything because you have Impero. And this session is our own protocol. Now, of course, there's the server components. I won't go into the details. I just want to show that they exist and that they can be implemented. Whenever you have customers that are requesting for our software, feel free to get back to us and we'll support you. Now, in the cloud infrastructure, the first 2 components are the same. Because as you saw in my demo, what did I do in my demo? Well, that's exactly what I did in my demo. I had a cloud session with a guest towards a host, and I had it via cloud. So this is, in fact, in this screen here, it's exactly what I did in the demo. In this situation, the guest will connect to the cloud over HTTPS web-based type of traffic. So you see here, these arrows are outbound, which means traffic is outbound. Again, a feature for security experts to like. Another thing why customers use our software when it comes to cloud is because all traffic is outbound. And if you have a security expert in the organization, they will immediately say, I don't want to open my firewall to inbound traffic. And then you will tell them, hey, dear Mr. Security Expert, there's no need to open your firewall for inbound traffic because my software, Impero, does all the traffic outbound. Everything is outbound, AES encrypted via TCP/IP and HTTPS type of traffic. Now, there's integration with Active Directory, domain controllers and everything. I think you may be interested into some sort of integration type of use cases. You saw it in the video. We talk about it here. Integration with third-party authentication services is provided via Active Directory domain controllers. So if you have any kind of authentication services in your company, then it can be integrated with via the cloud infrastructure. And then there is another feature which is unique to our software. Keep in mind, It's unique to our software. It's the way to access closed networks via cloud. I know this sounds ridiculous. This sounds non-natural. How can you access a closed network via cloud? It's not natural, right? It's closed network. Can you get it into a closed network via cloud? Yes, you can. And how you do it, you put like this gateway component. This is the kind of, let's call it router or Impero router or Impero, we call it gateway, okay? Some people call it Impero firewall. You can call it Impero firewall, whatever. This gateway is the component that allows traffic to be brokered via cloud inside closed networks. So let's imagine this is a network like you are the healthcare, the hospital. This is a hospital network. You don't need to expose the medical devices to the cloud. No. You may have the hospital security expert saying, hey, I'm not going to expose my magnetic resonance machines to the cloud. Well, there's a solution for that. You don't need to expose your magnetic resonance or CT scanner machines to the cloud in the hospital infrastructure. No, you put the gateway, and via the gateway is the only machine, which is a typical desktop or a little machine that is going to connect to the cloud. That's the only machine that is facing the cloud. Then the sessions will happen via this gateway into the hospital infrastructure, which remains closed network. And by the way, that's not just an example, a made up example. We have this example with our customers, Sysmex, where they are controlling blood analyzer machines. And the hospital people, they don't allow blood analyzers to be controlled via cloud. And it makes sense. You don't want, illegitimate access via cloud into business critical medical machines. And we can provide that via the gateway. Now, another thing which makes us unique. There is no other solution in the world that can provide a virtual private cloud infrastructure with our partner, Amazon. We are the only certified partner with Amazon, with AWS. I'm pretty sure you know what AWS is, and I'm pretty sure some of your customers use it already. Keep in mind, if your customers already have AWS cloud infrastructure, they will immediately love our software because they can do the virtual private cloud setup into their environment. And again, this is a unique feature. Nobody has it. You can do it uniquely with our software. Install our software into a VPC, virtual private cloud installation, which, by the way, it's an Amazon term. So if you're familiar with the Amazon terms, there's a lot of Amazon terms, but one of it is called VPC, virtual private cloud. We can interface and we can install our software in a VPC installation for any customer. And by the way, that's because all our cloud infrastructure is hosted on AWS. We can provide you with AWS related 18 plus public regions. You can host the data wherever you want inside any of these 18 public regions available from our partner, from our cloud partner, AWS. Of course, if you want to do it in China, then you must be a Chinese company. But other than that, we can host it anywhere you want. And I think in your region, it's Singapore, it's pretty sure it's not Vietnam, but it's Singapore, it's Australia, it's Japan, and there's many more regions that are available. And by the way, some services from Amazon that we use. Please keep in mind, we're a big partner of Amazon, the unique remote access technology partner that Amazon promotes all over the world for installations on Amazon infrastructure and virtual private cloud and all that kind of Amazon data center software. Good. There's one more thing related to integrations. I think we may have some questions related to integrations. We can integrate with a plethora of solutions. We have been integrated with a plethora of solutions. The gas stations, petrol stations people, they use our software integrated with some gas stations monitoring software. The healthcare people, they use our software integrated with a point of care application. They call it point of care. It's, let's call it hospital application. and they integrate our software with that application. The service technicians, they integrate our software with their asset management software or with their CRM software. By the way, how that we mentioned that, let me show you that. I think we can go on. Let me show you like live here because we have a nice YouTube video. And let's say Impero, no, let's say Neto remote. There you go. That's the, there you go. So let's see this video, which that's a commercial, of course. Don't worry, it will go away. So that's a typical integration with ServiceNow. You probably heard of ServiceNow. That's a help desk type of software. So let's go back and pause a little bit. So you will see here into the video, this is a ServiceNow interface. This is a ticket inside ServiceNow. There's nothing related to our software here, right? Yet. So this is ServiceNow. Now, a help desk technician will go into this configuration, what it says, CRM or something. So in this box here, you see this little icon. This little icon here is our icon, is the Impero guest. So the service technician operating in ServiceNow will start a Impero session from ServiceNow. They don't even know that they are using Impero. They have no idea. They just have a button and they press on it. And what happens in that button, you see here, it's launching the session. So there's some authentication required, and then bam, it gets the session. So it does exactly what you saw in the demonstration from me, like 30 minutes ago. But you don't do it in Impero. You do it in ServiceNow. That's the power of integration. And I'm not just promoting ServiceNow here. It can be integrated with any kind of software. It can be integrated with SAP, with Oracle, with whatever kind of CRM or service application you have. So this is a way to just show you how you can do integrations. We have a plethora of integrations at the UI level. Okay, this is the kind of integration at the GUI or graphical user interface or UI level. And that's how you do it. And you see this individual here in this demo is doing a file transfer. And it's actually doing what I did before 30 minutes ago without even starting a Impero session. All of the time is working in ServiceNow. You see also the history is here. The history of Impero sessions goes back into ServiceNow. So this is an example of an integration, which of course we can do project by project, which can be done project by project, and which can be done to any kind of situation. Now, there's another way of integration. Like there's another question related to integration, is typically related to logs. We receive this a lot, and please be informed, we can report our logs via SNMP traps to technically any kind of log management software. So if you have a ArcView, I think, or ArcSight, if you have what's the name, Splunk, or if you just are happy with the Windows event logs, any kind of log management software can be integrated with our software, and our logs will go whatever you want to import them and whatever the customers will want to import them. Typically, customers already have some log management tools and they just want to import our logs into their and last but not least here, I want to show you another feature which we talked about briefly, and that's another unique feature which is related to access to BIOS. Now, another video will start, and it's going to show you how you control a BIOS screen with our software on an Intel processor. That's one of the features, like so many before today, why customers buy our software. There's no other software, as far as we know, there's no other software that can provide this integrated as we do. So you see, that's the guest. You already recognize it. It's the same application. By the way, it's literally the same application. You see it? It's the same I have here. So I maximized it. but if I minimize it, it's the same one. Okay, and in this case, the operator has an Intel vPro tab, and in the Intel vPro tab, they start scanning for some compatible Intel vPro IP devices. It needs to be compatible with Intel vPro. That's correct. So it's a feature that needs Intel processors that are compatible with vPro technology. But most of them are. All the ATMs, all the point of sales, all the manufacturing machines, they are. Now it goes into, opens an Intel vPro console. And there's some authentication, of course, as you see here in the video. And you will see once the authentication is being done, it gets into the BAM, into the event management. So that's BIOS access. This is not operating system. This is below the operating system. This is in the computer belly. It's inside the processor. And right now, I think this individual is saving some event logs, of course, for documentation purposes, for future evaluations and everything. That's something taken from the BIOS. But you will see here, it will do a reboot to BIOS. Now, after the reboot, you will see that it already going to control the BIOS itself. So previously we saw the event log. Now we'll see the BIOS itself. There you go. There's the restart, reboot, and bam, here you have the BIOS screen. And we can now immediately identify that's a Dell computer. That's not extremely relevant for this video, but just so you know, you have it right here. That's how BIOS looked like. And that's how the power of Impero Connect provides all or technicians the tools to go deeper, down below. Why is this important? Well, the people that are doing service maintenance, they want to control the processor and they want to update, upgrade the drivers. They want to go into the systems management. They want to go into the, let's say, the deep underlying, they call it out of band or out of work or out of service. Of course, when a device is out of service, you want to try to do the maintenance on it via a via the BIOS. Of course, you want to try all options before you actually go there and fix it on site. So again, I will let the video go on for another few seconds or so, because this is going to show you how what else you can do on the BIOS. This is BIOS operation. Okay, nothing to do with the operating system. This is way below the operating system. This is accessing the BIOS of the Intel machine. There's with some commands that can be sent and etc. Power command, what happens on booting. These are parameters that are related to the processor that can be manipulated and set with our software. Good. Again, another powerful feature, another unique feature, another type of feature why people use our software. Good. Great stuff. Now let's stop this. And two more slides I wanted to show you, but then of course, feel free to ask questions at any time. The typical work from home, work from anywhere scenario that we see has an impact with the buying acquisitions of our software is still here and is still valid and is still active. A lot of our projects, a lot of our stories are based on work from home and work from anywhere. And we have stories, we have crazy stories from our customers, starting with the Mercedes-Benz CIO that was stuck during the pandemic in Bali with his holidays, and he was literally stuck there. Now you may say it's a nice place to be stuck in. Okay, I get that. It's correct. It's not bad to be stuck in Bali, but still he needed to remote access into the factory in Stuttgart in Germany. How would he do it? He used our software. So that's how we started the contract with Mercedes-Benz. And right now, Mercedes-Benz all over the world is using our software for remote access into the factories environment. Remember the factory use case with the robots, with the welding, with the painting, with the sabling and everything. That's the type of typical use case. There's a plethora of examples we can give you with work from home, work from anywhere. I don't know what's the habit in Vietnam, but if you have this trend, this trend can be accommodated with remote access and remote control software like ours. You as a company, you give the flexibility and the freedom for your employees to work like in these videos, in their socks, sitting in their bedroom, or sitting on the floor with some cat on the left-hand side, and working from home or from anywhere. Now, another thing we see as a trend is external vendors access. Now, keep in mind, a lot of organizations have a lot of need for external consultants. There's a trend in the industry to have external consultants, external experts get access to your devices for business purposes, right? They need to fix something. They need to repair something. They need to access your robot, to restart it, to reprogram it, to change some parameters. They need to access your ATM to fix it, to blah, 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 etc. So there's a lot of fuss. There's a lot of need for external consultants. However, these organizations today, or typically, they give them some sort of VPN access. Now, keep in mind, VPN is usually something that security experts hate. So keep in mind, VPN is, in general, it's hated by security experts and security consultants. Why is that? Because VPN is a type of point-to-many access. It's like some of our customers are saying, when you give VPN access to somebody, it's like you give them the keys to your business. Now, that's not ideal. You don't want an external consultant to have the keys to your entire business because you just gave them VPN access. When you give them VPN access, they have access to everything, not to just the device that you want them to fix. They have access to all your devices. So the trend in the industry, what we see, is to replace VPN access for external consultants with remote access. So with Impero, you will see Impero being preferred as a VPN replacement in certain cases and in certain situations. That's another thing we see in the industry. That's another powerful message towards your customers and your prospects, telling them that, hey, if you don't like VPN access for external consultants for security reasons, which is understandable, you don't want to give them the key to your business to an external consultant. You just want to give them remote access to the ATM that is broken, or to the robot that needs to be reprogrammed, not to the entire factory. So this kind of granular access towards the specific robot that needs to be reprogrammed is done by us with remote access. Good. There's, of course, additional security measures that can be implemented with the remote sessions being recorded for additional security, for audit, for compliance, and restriction access, and etc. I think that's about it for today. There's a couple of more slides here available in the presentation, but I want to, if you have any more questions at this point. Yeah, there were a couple of more slides related, let's say, to GDPR or data privacy, data protection. I'll keep them here in the PowerPoint because we'll send the PowerPoint later for your evaluation. And if you have any kind of data privacy type of legislation in Vietnam, I must admit I'm not particularly aware of the data privacy legislation that is available and is applicable in Vietnam today, but if it's anywhere near the looks of GDPR regulations, then we have it covered. There's 4 pillars related to GDPR, related to data security, related to consent. We talked a little bit about confirmed access, which applies the consent principle that is in the GDPR regulation, and data minimization, which is another GDPR principle, and rights of rectification and erasure, which is another GDPR principle. So if you're following by any chance these principles, we have them covered. Good. We quickly went through all the other parts related to, let's say, the benefits, because we talked about them. we showed them. We showed you the granular user managed, the logging and recording, the auditing, and that kind of stuff. Of course, compliance. I think I didn't mention too many of the standards that we follow, but I had them ready for you here in another document. So this is the other one. This Zoom thing, which is just disappeared. There it is. So we have a document related to security, and there's a lot of security standards that we follow. Some of them are mentioned here, and yeah, you can feel free to have a look at them. All these documents, by the way, are available for you, and all these documents are public on our website, and all these documents are just ask us. Whenever a customer is worried about security, that's good news. That's the best thing that can happen to you. If they're not worried about security, that's actually bad news. So be grateful when you have prospects and customers that are worried about security, because they will clearly buy our software. They will prefer our software. They will always make a positive decision. Good. I think I will probably stop sharing. Yeah, while I'm trying to figure out how to stop sharing, you please, if you have any other questions at this point.
I think you can just hit Alt S on your keyboard, Paul.
Yeah,
Stop
I
sharing.
have a pause sharing, which is funny, but I don't have a stop sharing. Let's see. Yeah, it did work. Thank you, Nino. Alt S. Shortcuts are always much better than the screen commands. Thanks. Okay, everybody. Still 7 minutes left for the conversation today. If there are no more questions, we strongly encourage you to contact our resellers, our friends at AZSoft, also known as Zlink. So please contact them. Please get in touch with them whenever you have a prospect, whenever you have a customer. You saw the industries of interest. You saw we talk to large retailers. We talk to large banks. We talk to large government organization.
We have a question here, Paul.
We have a question.
Yep, it's on the chat box.
Can we remote access without using software? I think I have an idea what the question is about. I'm going to go back to the presentation and I'm going to share my screen again. Because I think you're asking if our software is agent-based or agentless. I think that's the question. I hope I didn't get it wrong. Now, simple question, the simple answer is that our software is agent-based. And we highly recommend that you use agent-based software like ours, because you don't want to use open protocols. You don't want to use RDP. You don't want to use SSH. You don't want to use VNC. You don't want to use Telnet. These open protocols, they are open not only for you, they are open also for bad actors. That's the problem with them. So as open as they are, like I said, they're open for the whole world. So you don't want to use open protocols. You want to use Impero proprietary software. Now, Impero proprietary protocol must be used only with Impero software. So there's no way to remote control without Impero software. That's the only way to do it. So we highly recommend that you use agent-based software like we are, and not agentless. I know, keep in mind, I know that agentless is very tempting, especially for IT personnel. In general, IT people like to have their job done fast. Agentless is fast. We agree with that. Agentless is highly insecure. So keep in mind when you talk to the prospects, when you talk to your customers, you tell them that agentless may be fast and easy, but it's also quick and dirty. So you don't want to do quick and dirty. You want to do it proper, and proper and secure means agent-based. Now, I know this requires some deployment. I know this requires installation of some agent. I know some IT people may say, oh, this is so complicated. Well, it's not so complicated, but it's highly secure. So that is our recommendation related to agent-based versus agentless. The trend we see in the industry is to prefer agent-based software like ours because this is highly secure, and the protocols that we use is a super secure encrypted protocol. And at the end of the day, you don't want to buy an agentless software and end up using RDP. You know, I mean, you can use RDP for free. You don't need to buy anything to use RDP. So if you want to use RDP, use it. Don't pay for it. It's stupid. Okay, it's free. So if you want to buy something like our software, use our protocol, not RDP. That's our message. Okay.
Okay, well, we have the next question, Paul, from
Another question.
Wang Lin, saying, I see your app have a lot of button and function. So is it really easy to use for people with normal level of technology? Do you have a minified software with less features and cheaper?
Well, we do have a minified software. All of those buttons can be deactivated, just so you know. I mean, you don't have to use all of them. They can be deactivated. There's another way to do it, like you saw in the, let me go back here. There's another way to remote control, very minified via the browser. We're here. We're gonna control this surface, which is still alive right here next to me and still has battery, hopefully. And we're gonna control it via the browser. Now, is that not minified enough? Just look at it. Well, presuming it starts. There you go. To me, this looks extremely minified. It's just a couple of buttons with Control-Alt-Delete and with a restart and with a logout, and that's it. And literally nothing else. These are not buttons. These are just showing you when the session started and what kind of connection is. And this is like where to select the monitors, which unfortunately is just one monitor with this Surface tab. So if you want a minified interface, use it this one. Use it like this. Use it in the browser. It's super minified. Only 7 buttons plus a stop session. And it's also super easy. By the way, you don't need to install anything, right? So you don't need to install the FAT client. You use it in the browser. Another thing, you can use it from your tablet. You can use it from your smart TV. I know it may sound weird and unusual. Like, do you want a remote session from the smart TV? Well, if you do, you can do it. And use, of course, the browser. If your smart TV has, I don't know, Google TV or Tizen OS or Tizen browser or whatever, use it from your TV via the browser. Is super minified. That's how you do it. Okay. I will stop it here. Any more questions? There was a question about cheaper, I think. Sorry, Nino.
Yes, Paul.
Your question was longer. Yes, and I just forgot about this with the cheaper part. So let's talk about cheaper or not cheaper. The idea is our software has two types of licensing. It's the on-premise licensing and the cloud licensing. I'm going to go on our website because I want to show you our cloud licensing. Where is it? There it is. And there's the pricing section. So this information is already available on our website. And the cloud software, up to 500 devices, the prices are available here on our website. Now, of course, for more than 500 devices, there's a different price, a lower price. You can inquire our friends at Zlink-Azsoft here for some quotes, some personalized quotes. But just to have some general idea, there's this price per device per year. So keep in mind, this is per year and per device. Very, very careful with licensing in the sense that a lot of our competitors, we know that a lot of our competitors are licensing per technician. We don't license per technician, we license per device. And that's another way, another reason why a lot of our customers like the licensing, because they license per their end device, per their number of devices that they want to control, not per number of technicians. The number of technicians is approximately unlimited with our software. It's the number of devices that matters. Of course, it's per year. All the prices are per year. Please don't be confused with some of our competitors are licensing per month or per whatever. No, with us is per year. Everything you see here is per year. Okay. And all the features are included. Another thing to mention, there's no tired type of pricing, you know, in the sense like having a light solution and then an enterprise solution and then a medium solution and then a large solution. No, there's no such thing. The pricing gives you the entirety of the solution. So whatever you saw here in my demonstration, this solution is available for that price. There are no hidden features. There's nothing that is hidden until you pay a certain thing. No. And licensing is, by the way, mentioned here. Like you see here in my demonstration, it's like I have 50 licenses and like I have 5 users. But in your reality, in your situation, it's going to be hundreds of users because we give 2 users per each device. I don't want to complicate things. Keep in mind our licenses is our devices. When you buy devices, you receive these devices here. Okay. Good then. Any more questions? Okay. Then I don't know, Tan, what do you think? Would you like to take over and conclude the discussion or?
Yeah, I think we have no more question.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for your here today. And
Yep.
And you can contact me or Impero to if you like the software. Thank you for your representation. Thank you.
Okay, buddy. So thank you again for being here. I hope you found this interesting. Please get back to us at any point. Please get back to the people at Zlink-Azsoft. We'll help you with any prospects. We'll help you with pre-sales. We'll help you with quotings, quotes, and yeah, when you have bids, tenders, you need to respond to RFIs, please get back to us. We'll help you with any kind of information you need. And we'll support you with the sales chat, with the sales throughout your sales cycle. We know it's hard to convince customers and it takes a long time. And of course, we're prepared to help you with that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you then. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Cảm ơn mọi người đã tham gia buổi webinar ngày hôm nay. Chào mọi người và chúc mọi người một ngày vui vẻ.